Hello, Stuttgart. Now, I'm just going to cheat, and I'm going to ask you all to do an exercise with me just for myself. I'm really nervous, and I can't deliver a talk like this. So all of us are going to laugh in the count of 3, right? I'm going to laugh out loud, and I'm going to make sure I don't screech too much, but you will do it with me. So 3, 2, 1. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Ha. You're not laughing. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Laugh. Ha ha ha. Good. All right. A month back, I was traveling with my family all over Europe. And it was amazing because we were finally enjoying the European trip that we had planned long, long ago. There were a lot of things that I can take back from the trip. One of those things was memories of sitting in the cafes, memories of sitting on our couches and having endless sessions of chai. But there is another such memory that stays with me. There was this one thing that kept happening every day, one such argument, one such conversation, which you guys are very familiar with. We would constantly argue about, keep your phone down. You're using your phone too much. And we would also feel guilty about using our phones too much. Now, audience, raise your hands if such a ritual has happened in your life. It has. Now, why does this happen? All of us would first think about our phones in our pockets and say our devices. But the thing is, it doesn't really end at our device, our pretty-looking, expensive phones that we buy. Now, let's look into our phone. Our phones has apps that we use. Some of them are transactional apps. We use them, we fulfill a task, and then we end our transaction. We stop using the app. And then we open that app again maybe in a week or a month. But there are apps which have a never-ending use, and we all know what those apps are. So let's say it out loud and face it. Those apps are Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, our very own social media apps. Now, these are the things that we get addicted to. Why do we get addicted to them? Okay, let's imagine close our eyes and imagine social media apps as a party. It is a non-ending party. In that party, you can get to know each and everybody. You can get to know their past. You can get to know their future. You can get to know who their friends are. You can put them in your circle and block them from your circle, and put them back in and then block them again. Why does this happen? This happens because there is endless content available to us. And just at the swipe of our thumb, God bless technology, we just have to swipe away. But what is the other thing? When we swipe away, what happens is we hit endorphins. It's like a shot of endorphin, and we want more. We're left wanting more and more, or we're exhausted. Now, if social media is so important, it all comes down to justice and meaning when it comes to all of us. So, I decided to derive justice and meaning of social media. I went around and did some research on what was actually a meaningful experience that was happening to people. I went and asked people, what was the last meaningful thing you remember? And they told me that it was actually an experience where they were sitting with a friend, or sitting with their parents, or sitting in a nice space. Now, what I realized about each of these experiences was that there was a place involved, and there was a person involved, and nowhere was social media involved. And what got me thinking was, these two factors were the most important to give us gratification over a long time, gratification that built over a long time, that made us remember our experiences with people and with spaces. I like to call this sustained gratification. And it is not instant gratification, an instant shot and dose of endorphin that you get from a Facebook or a social media post. Considering the factor environment and user was important for a meaningful experience, we decided to do an experiment. This was Folks Cafe. This was in Amsterdam, and it was a very hip cafe. People would come here because it was one of the famous ones, for the food, for the parties, and it has screens all around which are used for DJing and VJing for like disco nights. Now what we were supposed to do was, we were supposed to tweak around with the screens and do something special for the users. And what we decided to do was actually create meaningful conversations and meaningful encounters in those spaces. Now, you guys must be thinking that this is the irony of the situation. I'm talking about meaningful encounters without social media and without digital screens. But how could digital screens actually bring them about? So, something like this. When I told you that environment is really important to make an impactful memory in our brain, environment brought about sensory experiences. What was common between the people sitting in those cafes was Amsterdam itself. So we decided to take footage of Amsterdam. And what was also really important in a part of an engagement and a conversation was hooks, these phrases that triggered emotions in us. We played this combination on the screens in Folks Hotel. And guess what happened? A usually mannered, graceful, and silent cafe became a bustle of happiness. People started looking at these screens and people started talking to each other and engaging with each other. But soon after, I realized that something like this happened. It was really funny that environment managed to pull out the user from his screen and engage on a meaningful level with the person sitting in front of them. But what was also sad was that they went back to their phones. And why did they do that? Not because of their phones itself, but because of innovators like me, like Facebook, like WhatsApp. Now, I don't mean to put them in a bad light, but have we been designing in the wrong way all along? There is this famous saying in the design world and in the innovation world. Users do not know what they need. Now, what we do is, we take the users for a ride when we constantly tell ourselves that. What we end up designing is experiences that get us hooked onto our phones. In this process, what happens is we miss out on sustained gratification. Setups with users and environment that we remember later on and that become a meaningful memory later on is missed out on when we are using our phone. Now, I have a feeling that I make technology sound bad. The entire idea of this talk was to tell you guys that technology is the future. And you may not like it now, but I advise you to embrace it. Innovators like me and my colleagues and my friends are constantly ideating and innovating to make the environment around you smart. Whether it's your kitchen, whether it's your bathroom, whether it's your bedroom, whether it's your car, whether it's your office, there's going to be innovation everywhere, and we're going to use it. We're going to use technology in that. But the thing is, how different that can be depends on us. It depends on us whether we want to treat all of you as consumers and customers or users with feelings and a well-being. I've started user experience, and I've done it and I've been in the industry for 3 years, and I have to say that I have been doing the wrong thing all along. User experience, by the name, suggests that you design experiences for people for users themselves and to enhance their daily activities and their lives. Whether that's you sitting across your friend and having a coffee, that is supposed to be enhanced. You're not supposed to be distracted by the user experience, but experience what you're doing right in the real world. Now, I would like to conclude with 3 things. First of all, in my 3 years, a lot of clients came to me and told me, Shreya, we're supposed to design a kick-ass interface. All the users should love it. And make it sticky, make the users come back again and again. And I was like, it's a transactional app. How can a user come back to it again and again? If he wants to pay his electricity bill, he'll just come there to pay his electricity bill. See, the thing is, stickiness is a sham. And constantly saying that the user does not know what he needs is a sham as well. You know what you need. We would not have to create clever interfaces to get users hooked onto an app again and again. If the users needed that app on a daily basis, they would be on that app on a daily basis. Which takes me to the second point. Users, you are powerful. If you have the power to buy an expensive, pretty-looking phone, and if you have the power to click on the download button when you're downloading an app or buying an app, you also have the power to know when you need to come out of the app and when you need to use the app. The funny thing is we users constantly victimize ourselves. Me too. It's ironic. I'm a designer and an innovator, but when I'm using my phone, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like, it gets me so addicted. We are powerful and we need to stop doing that. But what's more important is the third point. Innovators like me need to start designing responsibly, not irresponsibly. We need to start involving users like you in our process of designing so that we get to know what you really want. But until that happens, you can be responsible users. You can be that break in your experience of using social media for the sake of sustained gratification. I stand here today and ask myself, what is the last memory or meaningful thing that I did? It's very easy. 2 months ago, I was on a hiking trip in the Himalayas. And when I reached the summit of 5,000 meters, I was standing there without any internet connection, without any social media. And I can possibly imagine that again and again and relive that again and again. I experienced something so impactful that it wouldn't leave me. And it had those 2 factors, those 2 very important factors that creates such an experience, environment and a user. And now I ask myself, when was the last time I used social media? An hour ago. What was the last post I saw? I don't remember. Thank you.